Hello, I'm your host, Jim McLean. Welcome to another episode of Belfast on Screen, a podcast brought to you by the Banderflix movie review website. We've been away a little bit longer. How many times, Joe, have we said that of late? It's like, we've been gone away for a little while, but we're back. And it's like, take that, we're back for good. And then it's maybe 3 months before we do another podcast. But we promise you faithfully, listeners, there will at least be another podcast, right? That's what we're going to promise. I'm not going to promise big. I'm not going to say it's going to be a podcast a week. You know, so many podcasts a month. It's going to be, there will be another podcast. That's the way I'm going to. So this is technically, well, it's the second. It's not technically. It's the second episode in the new format for the podcast. This is Belfast on Screen. I nearly went a little bit Norwegian there, but we'll come back to that. And this is a celebration of films that have been filmed in Belfast and filmed in Northern Ireland. They feature Northern Ireland on screen, or they feature Northern Irish talent in front of the camera. Just means I get to talk about at some point 50 Shades of Grey on this podcast. We can't wait for that one. But yes, we're not going to be talking about that film on this pod. We're going to be talking about the latest feature from Robert Eggers. It's The Northman. It's out in cinemas now. I can't talk about this film on my own because it's a really boring podcast. So I have one half of Banderflix's Sleuth Sisters, our deputy editor, Joe McElroy. Hello to Joe.
Hello, as they would say in Norway.
You speak the fluent Norwegian, my friend. You speak. Yeah, we were just kind of doing some little Google Translate, and that is as much effort goes into this podcast. And I found out what the equivalent of Belfast on screen in Norwegian would be. Funny enough, Joe, Belfast stays the same.
Yeah.
Belfast stays the same, but it is Belfast pa Sherman, I think it was. The Google lady said that. Belfast pa Sherman. So hello to all our Norwegian viewers and listeners. I have now spoke to you. This is the name of this podcast. There was months of uncertainty. What is this podcast called? I don't know. Why is she speaking with a Swedish accent? Schmuck and a pancake? Because the Swedes and Norwegians, in my mind, they're practically the same, except the Norwegians just dress a bit warmer. Sorry to offend all our European listeners, but Brexit anyway. So, Joe, how have you been in the months since we recorded? I can't remember when we recorded our Belfast pod. It would have been quite some time ago. But Belfast has, of course, went on to have Oscar success, BAFTA success, and it's all down to this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we have to take complete credit for that. Even though I wasn't a fan of the film, it was because of that, you know, just to spite me. They decided, we'll give the Academy Award to Belfast for Best Screenplay. But no, and I know, even though I wasn't too hot in it, it's great to see, you know, a film made over here do so well for itself. So fair play to Kenneth Branagh and company in that there one. As for myself, not much has been happening. Just sort of been sort of going to cinema a bit more often now that things are starting to resemble some sort of normalcy again. And other than that, not much has been happening in my direction. Yeah,
it's been pretty much all plain sailing here. Back to cinema as often as I can go. Persuade my lovely wife to go see films you probably normally wouldn't want to go see. Haven't quite got her to head to the QFT yet, but we're going to cinema a lot more. We went to see the film we're talking about on this pod. Went to see it in the cinema, and we talked about it in the TV show. So if you've seen the TV show, you'll know how I feel about the film. We will have our thoughts in a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about the production of The Northman, but you'll also have seen Bill Taylor share his thoughts. He was not positive. Bill was not positive. He didn't hate it, but he just wasn't very positive about it. But just to come full circle, back to you talking about Belfast and its Oscar success. Good old Sir Kenneth. He won an Oscar and didn't slap anybody. So therefore, it's a one-up. It's a moral victory for Belfast on that front. It is a moral victory. Sir Ken, you win an Oscar and you didn't slap anybody. That we know of.
Exactly. You know, who knows what happened at the after party. You know, he could have went up the entire cast of Coda and just slapped the living hell out of them for not winning Best Picture. But we'll never know because it's all been overshadowed by Will.
Or just waited till Chris Rock was behind the scene, just slap him again.
Just the back of the head. A wee sneaky one.
Yes,
Nobody did.
It was Will was back, Chris. Will was back. But anyway, we're going off a little tangent. So yes, this week we're going to be talking about The Northman. It's out in cinemas now. It's just recently been released here. Filmed largely in Northern Ireland around August time, 2020. Slightly later than scheduled due to COVID. So we're going to be talking about that. So in part one, we'll be talking a little bit about the production side of things and just, I suppose, our thoughts on the fact that The Northman, whether that skews our thoughts in the film, or the fact that it's filmed here, does that mean we're more positive or negative, or does it kind of, I suppose there's undeniably an interest factor in the fact that it's been filmed here, or memories when it was filmed here during the pandemic. I remember a lot of stuff emerging through social media, but yes, we'll be talking about that. Then we'll get into part two, where we'll talk about our thoughts on the film. I don't know, Joe, make your claim now. Are we going to go into spoilerific detail at this stage, or do you want to keep it spoilerific light?
I think we can, maybe to a point, if we keep things spoiler free and then mark a certain time when we're going to maybe just delve into spoilers a bit, but if you've seen Hamlet, you kind of know what way this is going to go.
Yeah, that's very true. Hamlet. I think we will kick off and get stuck into part one of the pod as we look into the production of The Northman. But before we get into that, let's play a clip of the trailer.
Father is here!
The king, my lady. The king.
Your fate is set and you cannot escape it. How I've missed you, my son. One day this kingdom will be yours.
Thank you, Father. My king.
Feel now. I will avenge you, Father! I will save you, Mother! I will kill you, Fiona!
So that's a look at the trailer for The Northman. Joe, do you want to start things off? Do you want to give our listeners and our viewers a little insight into the production side of The Northman?
Well, The Northman itself, it was an idea that was sort of, gestating in around Robert Eggers' head as far back as 2011, according to the bit of research I've done. He was really interested in doing a Viking-themed project. So, back then, I think it was labelled The Vanguard, but he never really got it up and going because he was still, relatively new in the scene. So he opted to do the likes of The Witch and The Lighthouse instead, just smaller affairs, just to sort of build up his credit in and around Hollywood. But then eventually in October 2019 he got the green light to do the film after a few conversations with I can never say his name, Alexander Skarsgård. They had discussed the idea of wanting to do something along the lines of Vikings, so that sort of gave him a push to go on ahead and do it. But unfortunately, they weren't able to go straight ahead into production because of COVID, like what you previously mentioned. So it didn't officially begin until August 2020, where Belfast was the main base for where the production was due to take place. So in terms of the locations that they sort of used, it was filmed at Torhead in County Antrim and Ballygally near Larne. When you watch the film, the Torhead was it's where the film sort of starts. That village by the sea, where Ethan Hawke is king, and you see the young Amleth and his mother. That's where that is. Because I was trying to figure out where is each of these locations now. And then the Ballygally location, I believe, is Fillnor's village, which takes place in Iceland, but you can always swap Iceland for Ballygally. Also, they filmed not only in Northern Ireland, they actually went to Donegal and Sligo as well as part of the production. They went to Malin in Donegal at the Inishowen Peninsula.
Star Wars Central.
Exactly, yeah. And that's, from what I gathered, was the scene where they first land in Iceland, where they're washed on shore. And as well as that, like I said, in Glenif Horseshoe in County Sligo, and that's where the scene where the primitive version of hurling takes place, the most brutal game of hurling you'll ever see on screen.
Is it that? Well, it's not the most brutal game of hurley I've ever seen, but it's probably the most brutal game of hurley I've seen on the big screen. I'll definitely give you that.
Yeah. Pretty much. Well, that's where that takes place. So they were the sort of 4 main locations, and I think all the interiors were shot in the studios down by Titanic Quarters. Is that right? I can never remember the name of the actual studios, but that's where it mostly took place. So that was basically the production. And throughout the production, according to Belfast Live, it employed 439 people from Northern Ireland, and it returned £33.5 million to the Northern Ireland economy.
And that was just Nicole Kidman's bar tab.
Exactly.
Yeah, just being here. She seemed to have a ball, because I mentioned this before we played the clip. There was a lot of social media stuff around the time. I remember being in lockdown and seeing lovely photographs of Nicole Kidman here having an absolute ball. Just seems to be dandering around Belfast. I think for a little while she seemed to be one of the hoods that seems to hang around Belfast City Hall, one of the goths. She seemed to be there quite a bit. I doubt greatly she hung out with them, but let's say. And I know Anya Taylor-Joy, because I don't think they were here at the same time.
No, I think I was going to say, sorry, just due to COVID, I think what they tried to do was reduce the amount of people who would be on set and stuff like that there at all times. So yeah, like you said, probably they did the majority in Nicole Kidman stuff, and then the majority of Anya Taylor-Joy's, with just slight crossovers between the two. But I imagine it's probably just due to COVID regulations that they spaced it out.
We sadly got no photographs of William Dafoe just hanging around Belfast. Otherwise, I would have been a very happy boy. Because I know, wasn't it a couple of months ago we had Vincent D'Onofrio was here. Just went to the cinema.
I see the Batman.
Yeah, just went to the cinema. He's seen it in 4DX, which
I don't
put him
know.
a bit. He went down to my expectations, because I would imagine the Kingpin would just book out the IMAX.
Just for Vanessa.
Yes, just for Vanessa, this is for us, and we will watch this. And he chose 4DX, and you're like, oh, come on, Vince. But no, we sadly didn't get to see any photographs. There's no, I don't know, have you dug up anything? I've had a look through, because I was looking through Belfast Live. I used NI Screens website as well, and a few other social media stuff. There was a ton of stuff from Nicole Kidman on social media.
Yeah.
Anya Taylor-Joy had a lot of stuff on social media. I think she was closer to December, because I think it went from August to December. I think it was filming here. As you said, I think it was the Harbour Studios, I think, where they filmed a lot of the interior stuff. Probably kind of similar kind of setup to Game of Thrones, and we'll probably come to that, because I think that type of landscape and that type of filmmaking, I'd say that the crews here we've got quite good at that. We've
Medieval, sorted, mate.
We could do that. Do bother. Yeah, come on, just let's go. And so I remember the photographs of the sets, because they built the sets as well, as you said. So there's I have to say, they built that big set that we've seen, and I think it was Belfast Live, probably was the BBC website as well. And for such a big lavish set, I've went full Norwegian there. It wasn't really in the film that much.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, I thought it would be a much bigger aspect of the fact that they had to commit to building that level of a set, and wasn't really, other than some shots. And I mean, it pays off on screen. We'll come to that in the reviews, but yeah, and I know, just kind of rummaging through the production stuff, I know I mentioned social media. Anya Taylor-Joy seems to have had an absolute. I think she might be kind of one up in Jimmy Nesbitt now and bigging up the NI film industry, because she just seems to be, anytime she was talking about it, just seems to be bigging it up big time. Like, that has been the road. Maybe Jimmy Nesbitt, there comes a time you've got to retire. Like, he has done that, whenever they were making the Hobbit films, should have been one. I think every time he was being interviewed, it's like, could have made this in Northern Ireland, mate. Could have made this in Northern Ireland. He's like, go on, Jimmy. Go on. But, she seemed to have an absolute ball. And I think we were talking there about the set. or about the crew. I think they've won an award. I think I was looking through some stuff online. The Northman wins Film Production Team of the Year at the Production Guild of Great Britain Awards. So, okay, it's not the Oscars. No one's going to slap anybody. I doubt anyone's going to slap anybody at the Production Guild of Great Britain Awards. Sadly, Banderflix has never covered that one. Sorry, but if you're listening, invite us. We'll come. We're at that level of like, yeah, we'll come. It's not going to be like Will Smith to the BAFTAs, like, oh, I'm all right. I'm not going to come. Say, yeah, we will come. If they say there's a free dinner, I don't know about you, Joe. I'll be there for. I'd probably be there. I'd be like Pete Snodden. If there's a letter being opened, I'll be there.
Aye, of course. Yeah, free invite to free award ceremony and free dinner. Not a bother. I'd gladly go to that there. And even if there's a wee drinks tab involved as well, all the better, you know. Yeah, getting back to your point about social media, it was really weird when Nicole Kidman was putting up pictures down Ormo, just at the bridge there. Because if I literally, like, just sitting here right now, if I look out the window and I look straight down, I could have just randomly one day just seen Nicole Kidman standing there just taking pictures of it.
She is tall, Joe. You could probably just seen her. She's just standing over the trees in the building. She is quite tall.
And then, Anya Taylor-Joy, like you were saying, her social media, she was down by Duke of York, because you could tell with all the umbrellas. And a few pints down there and a few cocktails, having the night of her life.
Amber keeps giving off to me now because of the names I just drop in. I have had the privilege to meet Anya Taylor-Joy, and she's absolutely delightful. And I would love to have a pint with her. I think I would be very intimidated by her, but because doesn't she have, what's the term for it? Doesn't she have a photographic memory?
Yeah,
she is there is the term for that. So it's like, whilst I struggle to remember the kind of odd phrases that I said to Anya Taylor-Joy about Thoroughbreds a couple of years ago at the London Film Festival, I like to think that she remembers every detail of that interview. That's my way. So that's my little way of kind of, I'll always be a friend to Anya Taylor-Joy.
Oh yeah, you were interviewer number 62 of that day, and
62 of that day, and I asked her some lovely questions, and she was thoroughly delightful, and I would love to have a pint. I reckon she'd be the type of girl who would have a pint of Guinness with you.
That's it. No, she seems fairly dead on just from
not one of those girls that takes a half pint. She'd have a full pint.
See that glass of Guinness out with that nonsense, like, you know, into the lagging with you, and there's no time for that.
Or
she would pint or nothing.
It's like, or even she wouldn't be. Well, I've done this as well. She would even do like the Guinness Zero. She'd be like, or Guinness 0%, whatever it's called. She'd be like, I'll have a pint.
I was gonna say, it'd be worse if she asked for blackcurrant in it as a mixer. My mate did that on Arthur's Day a few years ago, and the amount of abuse he got that day, and rightly so, because that was just disgusting beyond belief. Like, how can he look at his family in the eye and go, yeah, I have blackcurrant McGuinness? You know, it's just absolutely disgusting.
How old is he?
Well, at the time, it was we were in uni, so we would have been early 20s.
Nah, it's too old. Like, maybe 5, and that's socially kind of acceptable in Ireland.
Like pint baby.
Like, there's nothing. Yeah. There's nothing going to unite this Ireland. Unite this island. Sorry, quicker than like a 20-year-old having. Oh, don't we like Guinness? Be alright if I just had a wee bit of blackcurrant in it. Get the fuck.
Yeah, everyone, like, the troubles with it, and, you know, any sort of conflict in this island would end completely just with everyone uniting, going, I mate, sorry.
That's how the troubles started, Joe. You know, that's how the troubles started here. Someone had blackcurrant, and yes, as I offend everybody, I've offended one half of our listenership as much as I've offended the other half by belittling the trouble, and the situation with the troubles down to blackcurrant and Guinness, but it's up there.
I like to think he was the roots of Brexit, because it was from that moment on a lot of things went downhill, so I'm just going to blame him for Brexit just because of that blackcurrant and Guinness. But anyway, we'll not get into politics because...
But we'll not get into politics, but we will get into blackcurrant and Guinness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
These are the things, Joe, that our listeners and our viewers come to in this podcast. As I've said many a time, not one fucker comes here for film reviews or discussion. They want to know the important things. Like previous podcast about, they want to know about Therese and kind of her washing techniques for when she's putting a wash on in the wash machine, kind of what products she's using. That's what they come for. You know,
Exactly.
okay, I know Wittertainment's gone. 5 Live if you need us, by the way. We're right here. We're available. I can do witty banter, and I'm sure Joe can do impressions of Danny Dyer and what was the other one that kind of
Jared Leto he done recently. He was just
Jared Leto as in his Italian accent that kind of nearly threatened to ruin the whole thing for a lot of people. But we can do stuff like that 5 Live, but that's film reviews isn't what people are here for. They're here to discuss the big things like Blackcurrant and Guinness. I have done it. I did it when I was younger, like 5 or 6. But now the thought of it, it's like, no. Do you know what I have done though? And this is a more recent thing. Have you ever wanted to spice up your, you know, when like a pint of Guinness just isn't enough and you want to get drunk even quicker? Wee shot of vodka in it.
No, the Guinness is fine on its own. You just have to have the Guinness and lots of Guinness, and then you'll get to where you want to go. And then God help anyone in your vicinity after about an hour or two when the Guinness farts start, because it is a absolute just it's worse than like mustard gas. You know, it's the worst thing that can happen.
It's worse than. Could you imagine having like this? I'm gonna tie it back to the Northman here. Could you imagine having the Guinness, having a couple of pints of Guinness? Maybe a wee cheese board as well. Oh, Guinness and cheese.
Oh, I don't know about that. You need red meat with Guinness. There's a big lump of steak in front of you.
Alright, we can have a steak afterwards, but a wee cheese board is nice. We
okay,
cheese.
I'll give you that. I'll give you the cheese.
Right?
I'll give you the cheese.
And then just going into that tent of the father and son, the rite of passage. That's I think many a family have done that here in Ireland over the years. Kind of, right, son. Definitely relation in couples. Get under the duvet there, love. Smell that.
Here,
you're the heir to the throne.
Me, you, and Willem Dafoe are going to get in this tent. We're just going to fart all night.
Yes. So, so we very quickly went down a tangent on the Northman.
Well, we tied it back together. We tied it back.
We brought it back. We brought it back, but that's gone into kind of venturing into kind of thoughts in the film, I suppose, and giving away plot points as well. But so this film was filmed here August to December. I think I read a couple of interviews with Robert Eggers that it was never primarily. I think they were going to film some things here. I'm not quite sure this. I've picked this up a couple of ways. I think either through the COVID pandemic and the outbreak of COVID, it basically became that Northern Ireland was the option, that all the kind of various shot lists they needed from their storyboards, they could get it in a relatively short area. That's the virtue, I suppose, of Northern Ireland as a filming location. It's like in an hour you can be in, a city. In kind of an hour away from that, you can be right on the middle of the wilderness. Like, I live in Lisburn, and literally you could drive 5 minutes and you're like, literally you'd think you're in the middle of nowhere. Outside, you're not think you're right beside the city, the capital city of this country. But I'm not sure. I don't know if you've dug up anything on that, Joe. So I think the outbreak of the COVID pandemic meant they originally were going to shoot in location in Iceland and a few other places, and suddenly realised that travelling from place to place wasn't going to work, a la like what Tom Cruise was doing with Mission Impossible
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
Yeah,
and per old Tom, it just doesn't. It seems to have been a massive ordeal that I just hope next year pays off in front of the big screen and pays off at the box office for old Tom. But, well, little Tom. But because of the pandemic, they needed to have one place, everything that hit their requirements, and that's how Northern Ireland. I know they did technically. That there was a second unit, I think, in Iceland doing some exterior shots as well.
Yeah, like the scene with the Valkyrie. I think when they're going over those plains, I think that's Iceland, because it just reminds me. Like, I've seen a lot of films shot there, and I was like, oh, that's where that is, So I think you're right in saying. I think mainly the first unit stuff was all here, and second unit, a lot of it was done in Iceland, but then a lot of it was done here as well. And just getting back to your point, I think, you're absolutely on the money there. I think it's because of COVID. It's like, it's better having it in the one location. Everything's relatively close to each other, and it'll be a lot easier to get through it that way, with minimal risks. Plus, we don't know. I'm not sure what the regulations for COVID were in Iceland at the time. They could have been very strict. I think they were as far as I remember, it was a case of you would have 2 weeks isolation before you could do anything. So it was probably more beneficial if they just, sent one unit to they could do their isolation, shoot whatever they needed for whatever storyboards like you were alluding to, and then, the majority of it could be done here, just with whatever, things they had to do on set to maintain health and safety at the time.
Yeah. And I think, from what I've read, Robert Eggers, I think every filmmaker you speak to, it's something that I guess we can take a lot of pride from, that he has spoke very highly of the crew here. Obviously, as I've said, they've won an award already for their work. I don't know what way it'll work. I know it'll not be, well, obviously not in contention for this year because we've just had Slapmageddon. But I don't know if The Northman will still be in contention for next year's Academy Awards, possibly BAFTAs. I don't know. That always kind of confuddles me. I remember before looking into it, I think it was around the time when, wasn't it, Gravity was up for Best British Film, and it was like, is it really though?
Yeah.
Is it really though? And they were like, yes, of course it is. And you're like,
was it
yes.
shot in London studios or something, or was it still LA? Oh, okay, that's how they got
shot in London. A lot of it was done in post. Well, a lot of I think some of it was done in post, but the majority of the post production and the special effects were all done by British companies. So that's why, of course, it is a British film. On that note, I think a lot of the filming was done here. I don't think any of the post-production was done locally that I'm aware of. From looking through my notes, I could be wrong. Apologies, that's my get out of jail cards, Robert Eggers' solicitor. But I'm nearly certain from looking through that it's mostly the filming side of things were done, maybe some general green screen and green screen prep, like we've seen with Game of Thrones. When you look at some of how they break down the scenes, was it the Battle of the Bastards and the battle on the frozen lake? You see the amount of stuff that's kind of it's prepped and ready for green screen. But I think with Game of Thrones they are based here, so a lot of the post production is done here. I don't know for 100% if the post production side of things were done here, but it's still, I guess it's coming to the roundabout way of coming to my point before we get into the review section, Joe. Does that skew then your interest on the film? I would be interested in this film regardless. It's the third film by a filmmaker I like. He's done 2 films now within the horror genre. The Northman still has inflected horror aspects to it. It's more of an action film than an outright horror movie, but there's definitely, you can see of someone who's, found his way within the horror genre. But do you think that has added interest levels to you? And I suppose for the general public watching this film, because I went to see this at Lisburn last week for the TV show, and it's the busiest I've seen. It's the busiest I've seen a cinema probably since Spider-Man, and that's including the Batman.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The Batman.
No, but funny you mentioned that there in terms of it's busy comparing the Batman to this here, because I went to see it on Thursday in the QFT, and same as you, very, very busy screen. But when I went to see the Batman, I think there was only 2 or 3 other people with me. But bear in mind, that was St. Patrick's Day, and I was working that day and the next day, so I thought, you know what, I'll go when it's a bit quieter so we can take it in more. But at the same time, I think from, the perspective of people here in Northern Ireland in general, that is a big added bonus, and it might be more incentive for people who wouldn't normally, think that this is their cup of tea, who may not know who Robert Eggers is, may not have seen The Witch or The Lighthouse, and just thought, oh, that was filmed up, in Ballygally and Torres Head. It might be good to go see his film, and then going in completely blind and then having their minds melted by whatever visuals that he used. But we'll get into them. For me, just going into it, if I, regardless of knowing where it was shot, it sort of ticked boxes for me. It was like, okay, Robert Eggers' new film. I love The Witch and I love The Lighthouse, so I'm looking forward to what he's coming next. And then, he's doing a Viking film, Revenge. Okay, that could be pretty fun and pretty exciting. And then combining those elements, how would he, someone with his perspective, how he can manage to do something like that there? Because when you think of Viking Revenge, you just think, maybe something along the lines of even like Conan the Barbarian or something out there, especially when you see the first trailer, like, oh, this is very familiar, you know, it's hitting the same story beats, but then obviously there are points where the two films diverge from each other and are quite different, but like you said, we'll get in that. But for me, yeah, just from the outset, that kind of stuff attracts me because, you know, I'm more invested in film, I'm more interested in the different aspects of it. But ultimately, knowing that it was shot in around here, that's just an added bonus for me. I don't think it would have swayed my opinion or you know, on how much I would have liked the film.
Yeah, I would have went to see this purely for the fact it's Robert Eggers. And I suppose before we get in to sharing our thoughts on the film itself, do you want to just very quickly talk about Robert Eggers' last two films, The Witch and The Lighthouse? Like talking about, it's going to be interesting to see, because you said you were at the QFT, it was a full audience. I was at the Lisburn Cineplex, the Omniplex, sorry. And again, a full auditorium. I went to see, I think there was maybe a couple of seats I could see free. And I gauged some. I didn't do what I've done in the past, where I've hung around like a creep and listened to what people say. I did gauge some people's opinions from, not by asking them, it's like, what do you think of the film? What do you think of the film? But just kind of listening like a complete nosy bastard that I am. But I'll come to that in the review section. But I know, like, particularly The Witch was a film that I know for some felt like it was mismarketed and felt like it was a film aimed at fans of, and it seems like it's the go-to franchise I go to. It seemed to be aimed at fans of The Conjuring. During around the time, I can't remember when the Witch was released off the top of my head, but it was around the time I think we just had The Conjuring 2, or in around that film release, or probably one of the Annabelle films. Hopefully not The Nun. None of this, none of that, please. And it felt like a film aimed at that. And I remember watching that at the Dublin Road Cinema. R.I.P. Let's pause for a minute for the Dublin Road Cinema. R.I.P. And watching a group of people actively detest the film while I sat there absolutely adoring every minute of it, and what I'd seen a filmmaker do. You could see the amount of research. We'll come back to that, I guess, with The Northman. The amount of research he had done. The production was the first time I think I remember seeing Anya Taylor-Joy, I think, or being really aware of her as a performer, as an actor, and just loving what he did with the horror genre and loving how he generally unsettled me on screen. Then we see The Lighthouse with our Pat, who's now our Bat, given a fantastic performance. William Dafoe. I would have went to see the film just for William Dafoe. Loving that film and that sense of isolation. I missed The Lighthouse in the cinema. I came to The Lighthouse. No, I did see The Lighthouse in the cinema, but I remember rewatching The Lighthouse around the time of the pandemic and just kind of like, I can relate to this in a way I probably never expected to. But those were two films, and I don't want to talk too much about them because there's things and aspects about them I love that I want to compare and contrast to The Northman. But I was a massive fan of those two films. I was a massive fan of Robert Eggers. I was very intrigued to see what he was going to do with a budget, because without a doubt this is his biggest budget production to date, and a very different production to what he's done in the past. But I'm gonna zip on my thoughts for now. I'll come back to the review section. But generally, Joe, for you, Robert Eggers' last two features?
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved his first two features. Like when I first saw The Witch, a bit like you were saying with the market and that there, I didn't really know what to expect from it, to be honest. I was like, okay, it's witches, and the where horror was sitting at the time, like you're saying, is very much influenced by the likes of The Conjuring, big sort of, I sort of call them like popcorn horror, it's just, big grand scare, jump scares and, grand scores to them and stuff like that there. But then at the time when I went to see The Witch, I was actually in Toronto, so I went to see it with a Canadian audience as compared to here, and I was sitting there and I was just like,
sorry, so you went to see The Witch, eh?
Yeah, pretty much. They were all like, and at the end when people didn't like it, I was like, sorry. But sat down, and then whenever the character started speaking, and they have that sort of like oldie English sort of vernacular to them. A lot of like people instantly, you could just hear the chairs going thump. A lot of people just stop and like, no, I'm not watching this, and you're like, really? You're gonna be that childish? Like, and you can hear some of them going, I don't understand that, and all this here stuff.
I'm sorry, Robert. Just as they're leaving, my Canadian guy sounds like Kermit the Frog. I'm sorry, Robert. I really don't like your film. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go have a donut,
Yeah, Robert, I don't really like what you've done on the screen there. Yeah, they just go full Kermit. No, but honestly, a lot of people just got up and left, and
I think that wasn't just a Canadian thing. I seen that in Belfast. I would imagine that was similar. I mean, around that time, there was a lot of films. Like, there's another film I absolutely adore, and I went on about it to a lot of people. I think you've seen it as well. It Comes at Night, which is a film I love. I didn't see the marketing campaign for it, didn't know that much about it, just was intrigued by the premise, watched the film, adored it, and sat and watched people absolutely hate it. And when I went back and watched the trailer afterwards, I was like, yeah, if I'd watched the trailer for that film, I probably would have think I'd been sold a monster movie.
Yeah, it was like a zombie siege film by the looks of the trailer, yeah.
And it's not, it's a film for anybody. Like, throughout the pandemic, a couple of people I said, like, if you've not seen it, watch it. It's very much kind of timely and right now. And I suppose the only thing I could think of as well that I've seen an audience have that response to a film is something like Mother as well, where an audience is just like, nope, I'm out of this. This is not for me. And yeah, I think back to that Dublin Road, that day in the Dublin Road, because I think it was during the lunchtime, an early afternoon. I went to say it was off. Again, I'd seen the trailers, I'd probably heard a couple of reviews about it, and went, yeah, I think this might be for me, and loved it. Like, it's a film that actively changed my perception on goats. So, I will never. I was always mistrusting of goats, but now it's like, nope.
Yeah, you chose not to live deliciously in the end.
Yeah, I chose. My wariness of goats has now meant I've tried to live a better, less sinful life in the fear that Black Phillip may, because our neighbour has goats. When I lived in Oma, our neighbour has goats. Like, one of them may be Black Phillip. I don't know. I don't want to really go on down that and kind of start kind of pulling that emotional thread for me. But yes, that was a film that changed my perception of goats. And then The Lighthouse for me was just a progression of a filmmaker. It's like you see someone who's had the confidence to do something that's his singular vision. It wasn't compromised. It wasn't changed. Wasn't tweaked in production. Morbius, I'm looking at you. That's a really shit film to compare it with. But that sense of a film that has been tinkered and taken out of a director's hands, and something else has been created that they think will be more palatable. It's a singular vision. He was allowed, given the freedom to do what he wanted to do. Was The Witch A24?
Yeah, it was A24. I think The Lighthouse was as well, to be fair.
Yeah, The Lighthouse is definitely A24. I wasn't
the Witch definitely is.
Oh, right, okay. So they let filmmakers go off and do their own thing. Same, and then we see that, well, that worked for us first time round. Let Robert go and do his thing. Mm-hmm. And what a thing he made. If, who thought we needed to see that scene with Robert Pattinson and a mermaid? That's only a small thing. Literally, the price of admission is, it's the same thing as Spider-Man No Way Home. Why is that film worth your cinema ticket? William Dafoe.
Exactly.
William Dafoe going up to 11 on a scale of 10. Probably on a scale of 5. William Dafoe's at 11. And he's kind of close in The Northman as well, in those brief little scenes that he's in. But William Dafoe just sells that film. But again, it's all about the visuals, the atmosphere, the tone, that sense of a singular vision, that authenticity, that use of language that I adored The Lighthouse. I adored about The Lighthouse. And again, I will compare and contrast those things. I don't know why I'm waving, but I will compare and contrast those things with The Northman. But we can go in and get into The Northman, but your thoughts very briefly, Joe, on The Lighthouse?
Yeah, I'm with you on 100%. I think it was one of the last films I've seen prior to lockdown. I'm glad I didn't wait until lockdown to watch it, because I probably would have been like the two main characters in the film. But yeah, I adored it. I remember going, I think it was one Friday night, I went to QFT and just sat there and let this claustrophobic tale just wash over me. And yeah, like you said, it is really a progression of not only like a filmmaker growing in confidence, but a studio growing in confidence to let him to do what he wants, because you know the way it's shot, that you have 4:3 aspect ratio in black and white, just to make it even more claustrophobic than it needs to be. And yeah, it's just one of the best sort of cabin fever-esque films ever
Since
made,
Cabin Fever. But
no,
I didn't really like
it's
Cabin
not
Fever.
Even, no, I think it's crap. I don't know why. You know, it's one of those films where like, oh, Eli Roth's such a great horror filmmaker. I was like, is he though?
Is he though? Did he not just watch The Evil Dead and just be like, I'm gonna steal a lot of ideas from that? I'm gonna say at this point, like, I do like Cabin Fever. I do really like Cabin Fever. I don't like Eli Roth as a filmmaker. I don't hate him as a filmmaker. I just don't rate him as a filmmaker. But I do like Cabin Fever.
No, he's a bit of a sleaze from what I've read, so we'll not really get into it. But
yeah,
I just don't like him in general. He's just comes across as an obnoxious wee twat. But that's just me.
Yeah, but so many of our filmmakers, unfortunately, now you find they're not perfect. They're a bit sleazy. They're a bit.
I know. You always there's always
reports
like an article.
There's reports now about Bill Murray. I know there has been a lot of stuff in the past about. Not a lot of stuff. There has been stuff in the past about Bill Murray that hasn't really surfaced as much as you think it really should have, or damaged him in the way that you think it has, or damaged others. But I know the latest, is it the Seth Rogen film he's been filming? It's been stopped now because of apparently inappropriate behaviour.
Yeah. To be fair, I didn't know much about Bill Murray's past, bar, you know, his treatment of Lucy Liu and Charlie's Angels. Like, I knew he was just a bit of a dick, but I didn't know to what extent and what he'd done. I just thought they argued a lot on set, but then when you actually read it, you're like, oh no. But yeah, it's like you said, it's almost every day when you're going on the Twitter and you see someone famous trending, you're like, please don't be dead or an asshole. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but no, at the same time they have to be held accountable for their actions.
It is very true. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm nearly certain we have a review on the website from you off the Lighthouse, and you made the point, it just popped into my head. I mean, you can smell. You could, if smell-o-vision was a thing, I mean, you could smell the Lighthouse through the art of visuals. That's kind of just how.
It's visceral how it is, just how everything just emanates from the screen, and just that's why I thought it was perfect. You know, the way I even seated myself in some, I normally sit to the left because I know I just heard this thing before. Your eyes generally go from left to right when they read the screen, but I thought no, I'll sit myself right in the middle, and then that 4:3 aspect ratio just put me right there, and that really helped get it across.
I thought you'd say you sit at the left because you've watched JFK so many times. Back into the left, back into the left.
It's Costner, he's gotten into my head.
Yes, okay. So, before we allow ourselves to go down another transgression, I think we shall move on to part 2 of the pod. We'll get into sharing our thoughts on The Northman, but before we do, let's play another clip of the trailer.
Fjellner's touch will not linger on me when I leave this island.
You marked him well. Now I've found the cold iron that will strike him down.
When will you do it?
When I must. For now I will haunt this farm like a hungry corpse returned from the grave. Fjellner thinks Amlet is long dead.
Yes, but what of your mother?
She will revel in Fjellner's anguish. She only feigns her love to protect their child.
Won't she wish?
When I free her, I will bring the boy if I must.
They've moved me back into the kitchen. If we can keep
Our plan will have to wait.
So that's another clip from The Northman. This is part 2 where we share our thoughts. The film, I guess we will throw this apology out now. If you haven't seen the film, we may venture slightly into spoilerific territory. We will try our best not to spoiler outright. It's all a dream. It was a sled. He's dead. He's a ghost.
He's Bruce
He's
Willis.
a she.
It's like the Sunny thing. He's Bruce Willis.
Yeah, he's Bruce Willis. Yeah, we haven't even talked about that because we haven't potted, but I guess we'll get that to any other business. But yes, so we're going to be talking about The Northman. We will try our best not to be spoilerific, but we might inadvertently let some spoilers out. but I don't really think it's, well, there's a couple of big spoilers I can think of, but there's nothing too much. As Joe alluded to at the start of this pod a long time ago, if you've seen Hamlet, if you've read the play, if you've seen the play, if you've seen any of the movies,
it's in the trailer as well, though.
Yes, but there's certain things I don't think, there's certain plot aspects around certain mother characters I don't know is in Hamlet. I don't know if that's from Hamlet or not. It's been a while since I have done, because I studied Hamlet and I studied Coriolanus at A level, and I like Shakespeare. I like Coriolanus, some of it, and I like Macbeth, of course, and all that stuff. But it's a little bit sometimes too like all the kind of like the love story stuff and all that stuff. But good old revenge stuff like Coriolanus and Hamlet and Macbeth, yes, please. So. We'll try our best not to be too spoilerific, but I guess that's our get out of jail card at this point without having to pause again later on. But Joe, generally, what do you think?
I love The Northman. For me, it's sort of a 3 for 3 for Eggers. Now, I haven't said that out of the 3. It's probably the weakest, but that's not by a huge margin. I think that sort of stems from the fact that it's sort of a compromised work in the sense that a studio expects him to deliver this big action epic of revenge, whereas he's trying to put in as many of his sort of slow pace and artsy sort of sensibilities into it, and the two sort of meet in the middle, but it didn't really curb my enjoyment of it. Prior to going to see it, I sort of went back and watched a lot of Vikings or big dick swords and sorcery sort of stuff. Like I watched Conan the Barbarian again. I watched Valhalla Rising. I hadn't seen that in years and I loved it. And then even a 13th Warrior, as flawed as it is, I still enjoy it. But yeah, coming into this, I didn't know really what to expect because I didn't know what side of Eggers you were going to get. But like I said, it's a mixture of him. It's basically him doing a $90 million film. It's that end of things. Like he tried, his side of things sort of comes through the sort of hallucinogenic scenes. There's a scene involving a Valkyrie, and there's a scene, like we alluded to the scene in the tent between Amleth as a child and his father and Willem Dafoe's character. He's being told what his future holds and what needs to be done and so on and so forth, and how his fate is sealed through that meeting. But yeah, it in the grand scheme of things, I love the film. I think the acting across the board's quite good, save for some ropey accents, but that's something we can maybe get into. The score, I think, is great. It really puts you in that sense of place and time. It's very percussion led and very heavy. It's sort of really propels the film along, despite sort of a slower than what you'd expect pace for a film like a story like this. And the cinematography is great as well. Like it mutes a lot of the colours in it. The general landscape, but then some colours seep through, and you're like when somebody's like say stabbed or that there, the reds and everything just really shine through, and it really works. Or even scenes at night when fires are burning, the way the light hits off characters' faces and stuff is just fantastic. And then the action itself, that's the thing that surprised me more than anything, because I was thinking, how is someone who's used to fairly quiet, intimate tales with the odd sporadic bit of violence but not a big scale battle or whatever, how are they going to handle that? And I think he handles it brilliantly. There's the scene where Amleth, when he's part of the berserkers in the Viking army that are invading the village, that action sequence is sort of like a one shot from when he jumps over the wall and it just pans across through the general invasion. It was just fantastic. But yeah, all in all, I was very impressed by it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you say, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. For me, it's the weakest of the three films for me, and I think I'm just that, and I think when I'm nearly 40, I should know better. When you go in, and around the time a couple of weeks ago, just before the film's release, you've seen so many 5-star reviews coming out. Like, I don't include Empire's 5-star reviews, because an Empire 5-star review for me is maybe like a 3, maybe 4 at most.
Attack of the Clones says hi.
Yes, Chris Hewitt, we're looking at you, but Chris Hewitt has apologised that, and he's one of our own, so we'll not hit him too hard with that stick. But yeah, even he's accepted over the years Attack of the Clones is not a 5-star review, or it's not a 5-star film. And I watched it, and it wasn't that I was lukewarm. My words, because we were talking about this very briefly last night when I met you at the Almost Famous screen. I didn't expect you to be there. Not that I didn't want you to be there, but just didn't expect you to be there. And I respect it. I just don't love it. And we're in the Lighthouse and The Witch. I've rewatched those films quite a few times. I don't know if it was on TV, I would happily probably put it on. If it had come to a certain point, I don't know if I'd be, oh well, it's nearly over, I'll just turn it on. It's not like Jaws, where like they've just shot the shark. You're like, I'm going to see this through to the end. I'm going to see, even if it's just a scene of them paddling, I'm not turning over this screen. I respect it visually, but for me, the fact that this is a film that doesn't take place in one place is what the thing Robert Eggers does so well. And the underlying theme of a lot of his films, his first 2 films, his only films to date, have been the underlying theme of isolation and how that affects and how it can influence our decision making and how it kind of insidiously creeps up at us and takes hold. You look at The Witch, we have a family leaving the relative safety of their encampment, I don't know if that would be the term, their town, and going out into the wilderness in seek of a new future. Things don't work out well. Yeah, I think things don't work out well for them. The same way The Lighthouse, things don't work out particularly well for William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. Not in a great way, without going into spoilerific detail. But those are films, they are there. There's a singular vision, singular place, and in moving, the fact that it goes from maybe 3, 4, maybe more locations, I think the film's at its strongest point for me, at its start and the finish. I think it's just that little interlude in the middle, the journey, the emotional journey, where we're meant to kind of get emotional engagement and kind of come on board with our central character, Amleth. It just wasn't as strong for me. The power of language, just like, I will say this, I will back out of this niggle by saying what I do like about it, and you kind of touched on this, Joe, in the fact that we have a 90 whatever it is million production. I see enough of Robert Eggers coming through. I just don't see enough of the filmmaker that has interested me over 2 films coming through, and the sense that maybe where he's had his strengths, you can see, I mean, he's someone who prides himself in the amount of research he does. He's meticulous in that, in kind of prep and giving his characters and giving his actors a clear definition of what their characters are, their backstories, you know, who they are and the role they play within this feature, the role they play within the story. It didn't grasp me. You know, similar tone to what we talked about in Belfast. The accents are a little bit all over the place. That's something that never really niggles me. It's, you know, Judi Dench's accent didn't annoy me as much as it did for others. Dame Judi, I'm still a fan, it's okay. But Nicole Kidman's accent is terrible. And then I'm going to caveat this point, because I came out of it, I watched it on this day last week. I went and did a double bill. I watched Operation Mincemeat and I watched The Northman last week in prep for the TV show. And I came out of it and I went, it's fine. It's a 3-star. And look, we mentioned Empire earlier on. A 3-star recommendation. It's still positive. It's still a recommendation. I just didn't love it. It didn't blow me away. And maybe I went in with too high expectations, because of you read all these 5-star reviews. There's fellow critics, fellow bloggers, other people I know, you follow on social media. James Oliver, I know, couldn't wait and was texting me all about his positive and his love for the film. James Oliver off this parish, he's been on the pod, he's been on the TV show. And I came out of it and went, it's fine. I have seen other films that have dealt with this kind of revenge aspect, more engaging. And I think, coming back to that expectation, I wanted to see something from a filmmaker I love, he's not like a Roland Emmerich who kind of copy and paste will know what you will get. I wanted something like Apocalypto, a film where it's just sheer, genuine madness that you kind of go, what the fuck happened on that set? You know, it's Mel Gibson, you know, what the hell happened on that set? I can only go. And I know Apocalypto's more of an outright chase movie, but that's me going in with my expectations. That's what I'm guilty of. That's the sin I'm guilty of. I went in with too high expectations. I wanted something like that to have sheer madness on screen. When you have Bjork coming back, we have elements of witchcraft coming in. The elements of the sequences with the witches are some of the strongest aspect for me, because that's just, yeah, Robert Eggers could direct that sequence in his sleep. It's like, yeah, this is exactly what I want. I do have a niggle that we have Amleth having to kind of been reminded of. It's like he's off being a berserker, doing his shit, and it's like Bjork has to appear there, go, yeah, you know the way you're doing all this berserking? Do you not like need to avenge your dad? And like I know that that's only a niggle, but it's a guess of sense. It's like I don't know. Like, it's one thing I did agree. Bill Taylor on the TV show was much more negative about it than me. I have no issues with its use of language. I mean, the visuals I love, the score I love the sheer lunacy of a film that finishes with a battle on a side of volcano. I mean, what is not to applaud in that? But as mad as everything was on screen, it still felt very controlled. It still felt very, it's like I kind of know where this is going to go. There's a couple of moments where you think it's going to venture into very kind of, like, there's times it did venture into kind of the Hannibal TV series territory, and there's some sequence you go, oh, okay, you're going to go down this nasty route, and there's the stuff at the village near the start that I'll say to someone right now, I mean, it's a tough watch. It's a very dark film. I've become bored with this sentence that I've started to use a lot on the TV show this year, and a lot when I've been talking about stuff. I just didn't have an emotional engagement with it, and that's something I can't say I didn't have with The Witch, and it's something I definitely can't say I didn't have with The Lighthouse. I had emotional engagement with those films. Those films got under my skin. They stayed there, and I found myself thinking about them. The things I think about with The Northman is visually stunning. You could pause it, perfect scene. Pause it, perfect scene. The stuff with the Valkyrie is stunning. I just didn't love it. And then, just to caveat this point before I let you come in back, Joe, because I know I've been rambling quite a bit now. I apologise, listeners. I read Mark Kermode's review, and I kind of went, I feel the same way you feel, in the sense that there's not a sense of that place. I don't know why I need to do my hands like this, like I'm praying, like I'm going to go into Madonna, like a prayer, but there's not a sense of a place. I think had more of the film taken place, had we not had that middle section of travelling, which I know is not really that much of the film, but it is quite a bit. I think had the film been more about the kind of where it finishes, or even more of where it starts. I mean, the stuff at the start with William Dafoe, and we haven't even really mentioned Ethan Hawke. I mean, Ethan Hawke, Mr. I hate Marvel, I hate comic books. What's that, a paycheck? I'm there, I'm on board, Moonlight. I'm there, Moon Knight, I'm there. And, I mean, he's great. I wanted to see more of him. I would love to see more of him. Spoiler, you don't see a lot of him. But, William Dafoe, I would have loved to have seen more of William Dafoe. When we first see William Dafoe as a jester with this big fake kind of pole for bandage. A cock, it's like, yes, it's like William Dafoe gets it. It's like, who do I need? Robert Eggers said to himself, who's going to play this role? Hello, William? Yeah. Big pole for a cock. You're on board? Yeah, okay. The stuff at the start, the stuff at the end, I like the most, and particularly the lunacy of a battle inside a volcano. I just don't know. I think the fact that it's not in a place and it's not a road movie I mean, we watched a road movie last night with Almost Famous. I don't know. It's a 3-star film for me. 3.5 stars at a push. But it's not by any regard going to be my film of the year unless the rest of the year is really shit. But then I had the same response to the Batman. Everybody fell over themselves, lavishing praise across the Batman, and I just went, it's fine. It could have been 2 hours. Didn't really need to be 3 hours. I don't know. Pick the bones from that, Joe, from whatever way you want.
Well, I'm with you on the point that it definitely starts very strongly and it ends very strongly, and the middle, it's not in the same level as those two parts. But for me, what really sort of hooked it for me is how it tackled the issue of revenge, because that's what my worry was going in. Is like, is this going to be just sort of straightforward? Is it going to be like I alluded to earlier? Is it just going to be Conan the Barbarian who's just out for revenge and that's it? There's not much more substance to him as a character or anything like that there. But when I sort of, and to an extent it is that, but whenever I started to think about the film, long after the credits, I was thinking about, it comes, I'm trying to sort of pivot around spoiler territory here. It's whenever he encounters a character again and he sort of like told the true nature of what his life was as a child and how things really were, he's kind of like shaking, going, what? Like, all that stuff I was told was complete and utter bullshit, what? It's like that idea is like, because I think it's when he does see Bjork's witch character, and like you said, how he's reminded of it. I think in terms of that being reminded, that sort of comes from the fact he's been completely sort of brainwashed by his berserker clan into thinking, no, what you want in life is to, be a warrior for us and to kill anyone we tell you to kill. That is your goal in life. It's like Conan, sort of going back to Conan, what is best in life, that sort of mantra that he goes by. That's what's sort of instilled with him. So he forgets, that he's supposed to be in a quest for revenge, and that is his fate. But then, yeah, like I said, whenever he goes to see Bjork's witch, she more or less tells him, you're going to have a choice to make. You're going to have a choice between revenge or being with.
Can I just interject? I just laughed to myself when you said when he goes to see Bjork's witch. It's like one of like Bjork's groupies. It's like just happens to be on set. It's just like, yeah, there's Bjork, then it's like, yeah, that's just see Bjork.
It's like Almost Famous again. It's like, you're not on my list. But yeah, I think it's called the Seamstress. That's her. Yeah, when I was doing research for it, yeah, the Seeress. The Seeress is her name. But yeah, whenever he goes to see Seeress, and she says, "All right, you have a choice to pick between your kin or revenge." And then the whole time it's like, it's revenge, no bother. And then when actually he's given the choice, it's like, no, actually, you can get away from this scot-free. You don't have to worry about Fëanor and getting your revenge, or your father, or forget that nonsense. You can have a life of your own, and things can go well for you. It's like, nah, I'm getting revenge. it sort of taps in the idea of like sort of toxic masculinity and machismo is like, oh no, I have to, I'm a man, men have to do this here. It's like, no, you can do the right thing. You can have a lovely life with a beautiful wife and a beautiful house and all out there. And I'm realizing breaking in a Talking Head song here, but yeah, he has that choice, and that's what made it a bit more interesting than Amleth just being this sort of imposing figure who's just like, yes, I am barbarian, I want revenge, and that's it. That added that extra dimension to him as a character and made it more interesting on reflection. But I do see that at the time it is just sort of a straightforward revenge film with not much in between. But no, I do agree with you. I do like those aspects of the more magical aspects, you can sort of call them. And I think, when Robert Eggers was talking about having to make a compromise, I think that's the stuff he maybe wanted to include more, but that's the compromise you have to sort of make whenever a studio is giving you close to 90 million. It's like, yeah, we're giving you 9 million, but we can't let you go completely mad. You have to give us something that's going to appeal to a broad audience, because like we alluded to, The Witch isn't for everyone, The Lighthouse isn't for everyone, but those who do love them really love them. And I just, even if you ask, anyone down the street, what do you think of The Witch or what do you think of The Lighthouse, they'll probably give you a look and go, what? they wouldn't really either be familiar or they may not have even liked it in general. So I think it's that compromise. So that's sort of what was in my head going, okay, I know he should be going this direction and he should be doing more of this, but he still has to be within the realms of a studio. But on that point as well, I did actually find it refreshing to see a film like this here. It's not a property of any kind. It's not, neutered down by having to be PG-13. It's just allowed to just let rip and be an adult tale of revenge. And it's like, you don't get too many films like this anymore, especially in the big screen. So that's what added to my enjoyment. I'm not being beat around the head as going, oh, but this is all part of a universe, or this is all linked to, or has to be with this, that, and the other. With this here, it was a case of, I've seen something like it before, and it probably won't be the last time I've seen something like it, but at the same time, I really enjoy it, and I really liked it. I know you're thinking of it as a 3-star film. For me, it's like a 4, at a stretch, 4.5 star film. But yeah, I have few complaints about it, but on the grand scheme of things, I still really like it.
Yeah, look, we're not going to fall out over this, not really. Anyway, we're not going to have to go on off a kind of full, kind of not have to wait for Bjork's witch to remind me, you must avenge, you must avenge. I don't know, we didn't really avenge anything, we just didn't mildly, just kind of didn't agree, so that really analogy doesn't work. The only thing I will say, I do find it, and I've probably been this person, so I am a hypocrite, but I'm always I'm the hypocrite who embraces he's a hypocrite and knows that I'm a hypocrite. So what I say today, I might then say tomorrow. Then someone will say, didn't you say that? It's like, yeah. As Jack D says, yeah, I'm a hypocrite. It's alright. It's okay. There's a couple of people I know that have said, oh, something similar lines to you. It's like, this is what the cinema has to be. This is the big screen experience, and it's like, it's not Star Wars, it's not Marvel or DC, anything like that. It's like, I do agree with that, but I have become very reluctant, and I think it's over lockdown, whenever I kind of find myself, I find comfort in that kind of, that stuff, that kind of, like, the distraction from stuff that I don't like. I'm not saying you are, Joe, I just know there are people that are doing that, not necessarily you, who will sit and say, right, well, I've went to see The Northman and it was a fantastic cinematic experience at the QFT. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. This is the type of thing I want to see in the cinema. I don't want to go see Spider-Man No Way Home.
Doctor Strange.
Yes, Doctor Strange, please. No, that's kiddie time. It's like, yeah, that's fine, but if that person goes to there and has the exact, this is kind of, it comes back to the whole idea of what Bandoflix was founded over, where a scholar and a comic book geek, they're having the exact same emotional response, everything that's sitting off the brainwaves in their head, it's the exact same thing. And if it's Spider-Man No Way Home and seeing 3 Spider-Men, sorry, spoiler, I think everyone knows that by now, seeing them on screen at the same time gets the exact same response from you as watching a Valkyrie kind of descending kind of into Valhalla, then that's fine. I just don't, and I'm coming back to, I'm not saying you are, but I know there are people are doing it, or are kind of say, well, this is what cinema is, and it's like, cinema is changing, and it's attitudes like that is probably what will put cinemas out of business. Because if that's going to be, you're going to wait for the next 5-star review from Peter Bradshaw, and that's going to be your next cinematic experience. Go, like people like me, go watch the shite. Go watch the shite to really appreciate stuff like that. And yes, I'm lukewarm about The Northman, but those people that are going to say, I don't know, I could be speaking out to, might not have seen The Witch, might not have seen The Lighthouse, maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but I don't know. I mean, I don't like going down that rabbit hole of that rant, but I think right now cinemas need bums on seats, regardless whether it's The Northman, which as I said, I've made that point, I've made it a couple of times. It was great to see so many bums on seats watching The Northman. I know a lot of, from what I could hear, there was that tried and tested kind of people walking out, and one guy saying to another, "What the fuck was that all about?" It's like, yes, that's back. That's what I want to see in the cinema. I went to see
sorry, just on that point, I'll do you one better. Coming out of the QFT, there was an elderly couple in front of me, and the husband turned to the wife and went, "I'm so sorry." It was clearly like, I want to see this big Viking film, and come on, it'll be fun. And then it's like, oh no.
I really feel there's a lot of times I should apologise to Amber, but I just double down. I go, well, I become that person. Proof within 5 minutes I'm a hypocritical bastard. It's like I just double down. If we go something and Amber's like, I didn't like that, it's like, well, here's where you're wrong. Here's the 5 points to why you're wrong on that phrase. It hasn't happened for a while. Like the last film Amber didn't like that we went to see was Morbius. I didn't like it either. I didn't choose to go see it. I went to see it because we were doing it for the TV show. We went to see Fantastic Beasts. We didn't like that either, and we didn't double down that. I went to see that for the TV show. I went to see The Northman for the TV show. I'd probably went to see it if we weren't doing it on the TV show. But yeah, I mean, the reaction I got from people having watched it at a multiplex, which would normally be the area for Fantastic Beasts, Morbius, Spider-Man, etc. Not me being patronising. It's just the truth. You know, you're not going to see... What's the Paul Verhoeven film? I think
Benedetta.
Benedetta. I don't think Lisburn Omniplex will be screening that, or if they do, it'll be on a 6:30 one-off screening that you'll then miss. But my point, coming back kind of almost full circle in what I was saying, yeah, I'm lukewarm about the film. I think it's fine. I think it's something I would recommend you see it on the big screen. Without a doubt. I bumped into Richard Davis, one of the founding fathers of Banderflix, the 3 tripods. Richard's back in town, and Richard and I was kind of saying, I would love to see it on an IMAX screen. I would love to see it on an IMAX screen because it's just such a visual film. I don't think it was shot in IMAX, and then there's the whole kind of issues about with the IMAX cinemas cinematic experience. They have to go and tweak films and change films, and whether or not that's just not possible with The Northman. I don't think it's been screened in IMAX. I don't think so.
I had a look in Cineworld, and unfortunately I don't think they had any screens.
I would like to see
the Batman.
I've never done the 4DX experience. Maybe this would be like as someone's throat gets cut, it's like, because I know that happens in Scream. If blood happens on screen, they squirt water all over you. Stuff like that. Maybe this is going to be the film that's going to make me love the 4DX experience. I do think, watch it, see it on the big screen. TVs are pretty big these days. If you do end up watching it at home for the first time, it'll be fine. But this is a message of warning. I am the person who held out in the hope that when Cineworld opened, they would show Dune on IMAX, and that was going to be where I was going to watch that film, and they didn't. So as a complete kind of lesson to myself, I watched it on an iPad, and I hated that experience of watching it on an iPad. It's a cracking film, but that was my penance. I was like Paul Bettany in the Da Vinci Code, just kind of, this is what you get. This is what you get. You don't hold out for this. Is why we don't get good things. But if you're at all interested in seeing The Northman, and I know like it comes into it. I made the point with our Almost Famous screening. You know, with the cost of living right now, maybe you can't go to the cinema 2-3 times a week unless you have your unlimited cards. I'm being lukewarm about it, but if you're thinking of after listening to this, you've got one trip to the cinema. If you know, as much as I don't bemoan, as much as I'm not a fan of the Batman and stuff like that, if you've already seen it 4 times, you don't need to go see it again. I know there's people that do that. I know someone who's went to see the Batman at least 4 or 5 times. You're like, really? Think of what you could have done in that time. Think of what you could have done during that time. It's good. I've seen it once. Probably for a long time won't need to feel the need to rewatch it again, especially if they go, we've got a new extended cut with extra dinosaurs. Like, no, I don't want to see it. But go. I'm saying, I mean, I'm lukewarm about the film. I'm repeating that ad nauseum, but go see it on the big screen, because it's still a wonderfully visceral on-screen experience. I just don't love it in comparison to Robert Eggers' other 2 films. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes next. And when I was thinking about it, I know I've already mentioned stuff like Apocalypto. It reminded me in a sense of when John Carpenter went from doing low budget films outside of main studios and then went and did something like Ghosts in Mars, and that sense of like we lost all the stuff that we love about John Carpenter. And I think in that process from what we hear, John Carpenter lost a bit of his love for filmmaking. I think it was after Ghost in Mars he went back and did Escape from LA.
No, Ghost of Mars was... People were worried that was going to be his last film, but then he came out with The Ward.
Yes, you're right. I couldn't remember whether... Because I couldn't remember the order of John Carpenter's films, whether it was Escape from Mars... No, Escape from Mars, that's completely different.
That's the third one never made.
Yeah, whether it was The Ghost of Mars, Escape from LA, and then The Ward. I couldn't remember the running order, but when we see John Carpenter given a lot of money and things to do, like John Carpenter is a filmmaker that will give you more with 10 million than what he could possibly do with 100 million, because that sense of what do we do with that rest of the 19 million other than stuff. I'm relieved to say we don't see that with Robert Eggers. We see, for me anyway, and by the sounds of it, I know I've talked quite a bit in this section, Joe, so please interject, but I've seen enough of Robert Eggers to know that his fourth film could still very much interest me. I'd want to go see it. Whether it's another big budget thing, I don't know. I don't know. I can't see him maybe doing a Marvel movie anytime soon, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. Ben Wheatley doing the Meg 2. I'm looking at you, but never has a film interested me more. It's like Ben Wheatley, Kill Lists. Ben Wheatley is doing the Meg 2 with Jason Statham.
I love it.
You've done it again, Howard. Yep. So stranger things have happened, and I want to see Ben Wheatley coming through in the. I'm sure we will. I am sure we will. I'm gutted. I think he has walked away from the Tomb Raider sequel.
Yeah, I think it's dead completely now. Yeah. I don't think anyone's attached to it.
I love it when those filmmakers go off and make these kind of left field filmmakers go off and make mainstream projects, and you see that coming through. I've seen that coming through with Robert Eggers. I hope that the studios are happy. I think it's done okay at the box office from what we think it's own. I think it's been released here. Has it got its American release yet?
Yeah, I think it's this weekend. So it's opening weekend in America.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the positive feedback. I think the film has done okay. I think the studios seem to be quite pleased with it. Hopefully, it'll be interesting where Robert Eggers goes to make his next project. It's going to be really interesting. Does he go bigger and bolder? Or does he then go back, say, I've done that, I'm going to go make something in the mould of The Witch or The Lighthouse. It's going to be interesting. But look, I've talked quite a bit, Joe. We're going to wrap up section 2. Give us some final thoughts.
Yeah, just in your, going back to your original point, yeah, obviously I'm not that snobbish, like, oh, you must only see this film, this, that and the other. For me...
Peter Bradshaw says it's 5 stars. We must go see it, darling.
Well, I have thoughts, Mr. Bradshaw, but I'll not divulge into here.
Hello, I'm Peter Bradshaw. I'm going to give a 5-star review and pretty much tell you exactly what's going on in the film.
I was going to say, Peter, this is just a synopsis, and you filled it with spoilers, so why? But anyway, we'll not make fun of me. We'll leave Mr. Bradshaw to his own devices. But yeah, no, it's for me, it's a case of see both. If you've something like The Northman coming out, or I think the next big sort of A24 one's Everything Everywhere All at Once, or something like that, go see it. Definitely go see it on the big screen. But at the same time, you don't have to be a snob and say, oh well, if I'm going to see this, I'm not going to see Doctor Strange, or I'm not going to see whatever's next. If you say I'm not going to see Morbius, I'd be like, yeah, it's probably a good idea, but go see.
You're just a normal person.
Yeah, you see Jared Leto and you're like, no, okay, that's normal.
What? There's another 2 Fantastic Beasts film? No. It's like, that's fine.
Yeah, no, go to see it, right.
An Adam Sandler comedy? No.
Well, he's stuck on Netflix now doing his Netflix stuff, so that's okay. It's just, if you're paying for Netflix, you're paying for Adam Sandler. But in the grand scheme of things, go see both. But I would encourage people to see more original stuff more, because I'm worried about a potential monopolization of, like, say, cinemas will just turn into places for MCU or DC or Star Wars or whatever. I'm worried that might happen.
Joe, that's already happened.
I know, and that's why I'm like, we're in the death throes of sort of original films getting huge budgets and huge.
And do you know who's kind of championing that to come back? Jared Leto. Jared Leto has been talking about that recently, how the MCU stuff is going to save cinema, and the thing is, he's probably right.
Oh no! Actual cinemas as a place to go see films. Yeah, I'm not going to deny it. That's the thing that's propping it up. The Batman's propping it up. Spider-Man really propped it up there around Christmas, especially in a sort of a post-COVID world. That really, really helped boost it. I don't know if Avatar 2 is going to this Christmas time, but we'll see what happens. I know James Cameron, he always proves you wrong. People thought Titanic would flop. It was the biggest film of all time when it came out. People thought Avatar would flop. Became the biggest film of all time when it came out. I don't think Avatar 2 is going to really set the world alight as much, but who knows. But in the grand scheme of things, yes, go see, for me, prioritise original films to try and help them along and get more original stuff. But at the same time, that's not going to affect Marvel and what they're doing. They're always going to be about. They're always Kevin Feige's going to still stick to his one. I think he's got last I read it was like 24 films in the pipe, 24 films / TV shows in the pipeline. They'll be fine. They'll make their money. They'll be big hits. But try and shine a light in these smaller films as well, like The Northman and even The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is out this week as well. Try and give them a bit of love as well. Try and give them a bit of numbers, so then I'll encourage studios to not necessarily even make a huge budget thing, even mid. What I sort of miss, sort of meat and potatoes mid-budget films. Because they're more or less extinct from cinemas now. You'll only find them really on streaming platforms. But in the grand scheme of things, yes, I highly recommend The Northman. Go see it, enjoy it, yeah, it's a thumbs up for me.
Joe, anything else you want to say? Because I know you have to leave soon, because you have things to do. But
I think that's pretty much it. Nothing else has really come to mind and stuff like that there.
Okay, if you've been listening to this far to the end, thank you very much, and hopefully you've enjoyed this pod, this weirdly kind of Norwegian-y kind of episode of Belfast on Screen. But as we said, it was filmed here. We can claim it. It's like the UK claiming Greg Rosetsky. One of ours.
Yeah, it's like Daniel Day-Lewis. Sure, he's English, but he's not really Irish.
No, it's. I'm trying to think of something else. Yes, we're claiming it. That's what it's. So it's gonna be this has been our second episode of Belfast on Screen. You can go back and listen to the previous episode about Belfast, and so all that's really left for me to do now is thank you very much, Joe. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jim.
We will be back soon with another podcast, but for now, goodbye.